Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room. You know, you're all thinking about it. Let me just cut to the point and point out who's not here. And of course, I'm talking about the middle class. That filthy group of people. Right, Chuck? Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know about you. I think this is exciting. This is very exciting, right? We are 19 days until the election and likely a civil war. And, you know, I'm nervous. You know what I mean? It's like, this is my first civil war, guys. We are 19 days until the election and likely a civil war.
Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. I don't know how much more people need to see to understand that Donald Trump, the billionaire, has been hand-selected by the global elites because he is a global elite to represent the quote-unquote patriots, the quote-unquote freedom fighters. And Donald Trump shows this every time he's out in public. And now they had this Al Smith dinner where you could see all of these billionaires together, Republicans, Democrats, liberal media, conservative media, all of course who have you down your next door neighbor's throats or your wife or your husband's throats or your boyfriend or your girlfriend's throats because you're supposed to remain divided over these issues that they continue to create and then push through their media machine to make you hate someone of this color or hate a gender of that or be divided over this issue or divided over that issue or then to start stereotyping someone based on who they vote for or who they might support. They're all the ones doing it. And they're all together at this event, the Al Smith dinner, while Donald Trump is sitting there laughing. He's laughing as they're talking about, well, you know who's not here at this event? Well, the middle class, you know, those scumbags known as the middle class. And if you understand what's occurring here, no matter how much income you make, the destruction of the middle class is what the New World Order needs, because we will all be in poverty. We will all be slaves. And even if you're somebody who doesn't have any money, it's not like I have any money. Okay, even if you're someone who is broke, the difference is that these people will rule over us. And that's where the problem lies. That's why they need to kill off the middle class. So even if you're poor, you shouldn't root for your neighbors or anyone you know who might make a decent living to lose their income. Everyone should be united against these people. These are the people who should have their wealth removed. These are the people who should have their power removed. And these are the people who should be removed from the United States of America for conspiring against the American civilians. But of course they're not, because they had to put someone in place that everybody's going to put all their hope in, who is Donald Trump, to think that this movement against America is going to be stopped because Donald Trump is going to stop it. And I'm going to play for you the quotes. I sat through this monologue of Jim Gaffigan, who, again, I've covered Jim Gaffigan in the past. It's rumored that he is the current high priest in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, the high priest, the high satanic priest, who over the years, we've heard a lot of the stories about people like Jim Carrey residing in that position. We've heard stories about Martin Scorsese being the high priest in Hollywood. They say that, that's what I've heard from a lot of people who I trust, that Jim Gaffigan is actually that guy. And Jim Gaffigan is kind of a low-end comedian who has been getting shown more and more and more over the last couple of years. He's been hosting events. He's been getting put on national television. He's now on Saturday Night Live portraying Tim Walz. And he's up on stage and he's talking about how we're 19 days out to a civil war. We're 19 days out to a civil war beginning, right? And they all laugh, and Donald Trump's on stage and he laughs and he talks about how the middle class are scum, and specifically even mentions, how do we address ourselves up here? Oh, I guess as the global elites. As your hero, Donald Trump, sits on the stage and laughs. And I ask you, if someone like me or you was to be rebelling against the deep state, would you be sitting at dinners with them? I mean, I'm so sick of hearing these people make excuses as to why Donald Trump is there or why he's at the World Economic Forum. I've heard every excuse in the book over the years, right? Even when Trump was president, he went to the World Economic Forum. These people were defending him being there. Oh, well, he's got to go. He's got to show his face there, right? Shaking hands, smiling, right? Just like Elon Musk. All these guys are right next to each other all the time out in the open at the Met Gala, at events like this. But they're real enemies, right? These are all people on stage who are talking about throwing them in jail. You got Chuck Schumer up there, Mike Bloomberg. Oh, Trump's a threat to our democracy. Oh, Trump needs to go in prison. He's up there chumming with them, right? Let's just say hypothetically someone you knew was trying to have you thrown in jail. Would you be shaking hands, smiling on national television, hanging out with them? Would you be cracking jokes with them? Would you be laughing as you're sitting there and the people on stage are laughing about how they're all rich billionaires and you're just middle-class scum who needs to get wiped out? Or how about the fact that they start talking about the journalists who are there and what a conflict of interest that is? It's amazing. You can see some of the Fox News correspondents in the background, as well as the MSNBC and NBC News correspondents. They certainly seem to get away from their hatred of the opposing side for an evening, right? You're supposed to believe that the same people out there who are telling you that you need to hate the people who don't vote the same way as you, the same people who are telling you that, can you believe how insane these people are who vote for the other? They're all hanging out with each other. The ones who are influencing your decisions, the ones who are influencing you into not liking certain people in your life anymore based on something called a vote, which doesn't even count in the first place. He even goes on, as I'll play you the clips now, to talk about, keep an eye on, listening to some of this stuff about how all the billionaires here, one thing's for sure, that one thing all the billionaires have is they're all supporting Trump, and Trump was smiling ear to ear, because it's looking more and more likely that it will be Donald Trump who is selected to be put in as the president of the United States, and then all chaos can ensue from there. We can have an actual assassination. We could have World War III with Putin. They've set this up perfectly because people are emotionally invested in it, and that's what matters most. And that's why Jim Gaffigan goes on to say towards the end of this clip that the one group of people in America that baffles him and baffles all these billionaires are the undecided voters. And what he's really saying is the people who refuse to vote, the people who refuse to get sucked into the left-right paradigm. It baffles their mind that we could actually see through their game. Here are some clips from these billionaires chumming together.
Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room. You know, you're all thinking about it. Let me just cut to the point and point out who's not here. And of course, I'm talking about the middle class. That filthy group of people. Right, Chuck? Do you know what I'm talking about? Can we have a round of applause for Chuck Schumer? Right? See, he does like being near microphones. But seriously, this is a special night, people. This is the one night when Republicans and Democrats who used to be Republican and Republicans who used to be Democrats and independents and whatever Michael Bloomberg is now, we can, there he is, he's up there. I don't know about you, I think this is exciting. This is very exciting, right? We are 19 days until the election and likely a civil war. And, you know, I'm nervous, you know what I mean? It's like, this is my first civil war, guys. I would never put him on the spot, but Cardinal Dolan, I'm curious. The Pope did say that this election is a choice between the lesser of two evils. And so, two-part question. One, do you agree? And two, who's more evil? All right, I'll come back to you. You know, looking at this impressive dais of attendees up here, I never know how to address you people. Do you prefer, you know, global elite or coastal elite? You know, I mean, I know we live in sensitive times and I don't want to mislabel anyone. Now, I understand some people may have an issue with a journalist appearing on a dais, hobnobbing with the rich and powerful. It would appear like a clear conflict of interest, and that's because it absolutely is. Look, the days of Walter Cronkite are gone. Now, by the way, there are rumors that Mayor Bloomberg is planning to run for mayor. I don't know if that's true. Quick question, Mayor Bloomberg. When you buy an election, do you put it on a credit card so you can get the points? By the way, as we know, they are bitter rivals on the football field. But here tonight, they're here for the same reason: billionaires supporting Trump. It's really beautiful. We are 19 days from the election. This presidential election, it's been different, right? I mean, it's crazy because there's no Russian interference, no Facebook. It's crazy. It's being left up to American voters and 4 billionaires. There is one group that baffles me, and I think it baffles most everyone in this country, and I'm talking about the undecided voter. Are you kidding me? I mean, are you kidding me? You don't know who you're voting for? You don't see a difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I think we'd all agree that, we live in divided times, and whoever is elected in November, I hope they establish an initiative to heal the divide that exists in this country. And I have a great name for this. It could be called Project 2025. It has a nice, Chuck, do you like it?
So it's amazing. I mean, this is what you call a conspiracy, right? Here's a group of people, all who tell you that you need to hate so-and-so, that if you have a friend who supports so-and-so, you shouldn't support him. He even goes on to talk about how this election is between the lesser of two evils. You gotta love how this Jesuit cardinal sitting there is just cracking up at references to prayer. He's cracking up at the lesser of two evils because all these people know that they are playing the American people on a fiddle. And the psychosis is so deep that they could sit there together in front of you, smiling, while you're feeling stress, while you're feeling pressure, while you're feeling your personal human rights being removed like free speech on a day in, day out basis. While you're watching the government hit you with weaponized weather and all these other things, they could sit there and they could smile because they know you won't pull yourself out of the hypnosis, even with Donald Trump sitting there with these people like Chuck Schumer, like Mike Bloomberg, sitting there side by side, because you know what it takes? All it takes is Donald Trump to go up on stage and crack a few jokes, because eventually that's what happens. Donald Trump goes up, he roasts Kamala Harris, he roasts the Democrats, and it's no different than a roast, right? What do we see at the roast events? When we see roasts, right? We just saw who was roasted recently. Tom Brady, the football player, was roasted, right? All of his friends were up there roasting him. And that's why he wasn't offended by anything that was said, even how badly it crossed the line about his kids or his family, because those are his friends cracking jokes. And afterwards, they smile, they shake hands, and they go about their lives. No different than this. Donald Trump's up there. He's laughing at jokes about how a 19 days civil war is going to be unleashed, how the people on stage are global elites as he sits next to the global elites, how the enemy, the people who are not invited to this event, who are the scum of the earth, are the middle class. You know, the same middle class that's putting all of its hope in Donald Trump, who's actually preventing a real revolution against these psychopaths from occurring. Because everybody out there thinks by consenting and voting that they're going to make a difference. It's amazing how some of these people think that they're awake. They talk like they're awake. They'll still put on Fox News when Fox News is in the building sitting next to the likes of Chuck Schumer. And they go, well, it's a charity event, right? Because they don't understand how these secret societies work. They don't understand that the big cover that they have that they always use is philanthropy and charity, right? So they're all there together because they're all donating their millions of dollars to some cause that you're supposed to believe that they're really helping. They're not donating money to anyone or anything except putting their money together to try to destroy the United States of America and create a global government. That's what their money's going towards. They're not helping any of these children's hospitals that they claim or trying to cure these diseases like cancer that they're creating by dumping soft metals on us. They're doing none of the above. But that's why the secret societies teach that everybody who's a member needs to be a philanthropist and always be out in the open as a philanthropist. That way, they can create an illusion in people's minds that they're good people and that they're helping with their wealth. They're trying to do things, which is why the Bill Gateses of the world, they all do it. They're all trained that way. This is Secret Society 101. This is why the Freemasons constantly go out and say, we're helping the Shriners Hospital. We have our own children's hospital. We're great people, right? Because if you realize that they were worshiping Lucifer and doing all sorts of disgusting acts in that lodge in your town, and you realize, wow, that lodge in my town is exempt from taxes. It's actually not even considered on state land. Wow, they're really like their own little government, their own little citizenship there. If you realize that, then the American people, or the people around the earth, I should say, because this is all civilians, the same script is playing out in every country. The people would rise up against it. Also in attendance, by the way, was RFK. You know, the same RFK that everyone out there is like, oh man, RFK, you know, he's one of us. You know, he's one of us. He's in the elite Illuminati bloodline, the Kennedys, but he's a conspiracy truther. He talks about the chemicals in the food and all this other stuff. They're tickling your ears. They're not changing crap. The only way you would know if you weren't ingesting chemicals is if you grew it yourself, which they do everything they can in their power to make sure that you can't. And that's why they want you to grow what you grow, if you can grow, on Monsanto dirt and soil, so they can contaminate it. And they're spraying from the sky. So what's RFK going to do about it? Oh, are we going to trust what's on a label now if we buy processed food? Of course not. Of course not. So they could sit there and they could tell you that, well, you know, we're going to change what's going on with the food supply. You actually believe these people? Have they shown you anything that should make you actually trust or believe them? When is enough enough? When Trump's on a stage with them and they're all calling themselves global elites, or when he's on stage with other journalists who they say, well, this is a conflict of interest, isn't it? Well, it certainly is, because this is what you would look at as a conspiracy, a group of people who are clearly conspiring against another group of people. And guess what? The group of people they're conspiring against aren't the Republicans or the Democrats. It's the civilians. And these are the group of people who are getting together out in the open and doing it. It's absolutely unbelievable that people out there can't see through the left-right divide and that Trump is one of the billionaires being referenced. He is one of these people. And that's why they needed to create some of these ridiculously poorly produced psyops that came across as assassinations on his life, to make sure you were more emotionally invested, to make sure that you just said, wow, they must really hate him. They're trying to kill him. Instead of saying, you know, if they wanted him dead, I'm pretty sure in the year 2024, with the heart attack machines and the radiation devices they have, or just the way they, you know, did Princess Diana's ritual, they could take Donald Trump out if he's such a threat to democracy. He could die in his sleep. He could have himself an accident, right? Nope. These people just refuse to believe it because they want to believe in the PSYOP. They enjoy being a part of the game. And that's why Jim Gaffigan points out that the thing that baffles their mind the most are the people who are not in the psychosis, the people who haven't chosen a side. They call them undecided voters. But what he really was saying was people who are refusing to vote, people who are refusing to get sucked in, because they can't believe that there's people out there that aren't so emotionally upset over this deep psychosis that they've created that they aren't going to run to the ballot box to choose a side, because they need your consent to move forward with this. And everybody out there, sadly, is going to consent. But it does baffle their mind that there's people like us, and they continue to try to see to it that people like us can't get together anywhere, that we can't find common ground on YouTube or on other platforms. And when they do find us, they remove us, because the only real threat that they feel are people who are not sucked in to their left-right psychosis. The people who are voting Republican, who think that their vote actually counts, are falling for it hook, line, and sinker. And they don't realize that their boy Donald Trump is going to lead them right off a cliff. And it's all done by design on both sides. This right here is the definition of what a conspiracy is. It's a group of people meeting, conspiring. And these are all the people, all the talking heads who say Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, the world's going to change, it's never going to be the same again, while he's sitting on stage next to the same people who are supposedly trying to throw him in jail, who are supposedly out in the open saying, well, you know, maybe it would have been better if they didn't miss on that assassination attempt, right? All while the same people were feeding you your quote-unquote manufactured news, telling you that, oh man, these people who vote Democrat are insane. And these people who vote Republican are nothing more than psychotic, dangerous bullies who are threats to our society because they want to walk around armed. Those are the people in that room conspiring against people like me and you. It's disgusting. And what's even more disgusting is that people are still falling for this thing hook, line, and sinker. Like Afghan said, 19 days till the Civil War begins. What an absolute joke. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.